Ron, you mentioned earlier that you learned to do design and CAD work. For those of our audience that are in design school, they've got classrooms and professors with a curriculum for CAD all laid out, but you're self-taught. How and why did that happen?
Well, I purchased an inexpensive CAD program, and I designed a house. It was actually a spec house. It was my first spec house, and I was trying to keep all the costs down to borrow less. And so I bought this $30 CAD program, and it was quite frustrating, but I did get through it. And it was through that process of learning some of the basics. And as I learned with all CAD programs, a lot of things are very, very similar. But I moved on to a real powerful CAD program, a professional system, and I did some training with the company. They would come to our area, and I would also travel to other areas. So I took a lot of week-long and weekend-long and day-long seminar type trainings, and I was doing the designing and the actual real work day to day. So the problems that I had or the issues that I ran into, I could apply them right away. So the learning curve was difficult, but it was quick. I was able to take the stuff in and put it to use right away, and so I was able to build on that. And so just whenever I ran into a problem designing a roof or some kind of foundation issue, I was able to contact the company, talk to their tech support, figure out, or actually their learning support, and figure out what I needed to do to get through that particular problem. And once I did that, that was in my quiver of skills, and I was able to move on. And so it was really just picking up the education as I needed it.
And what was it that motivated you to expand into designing entire homes? Did you have a sort of light bulb moment where you realized, hey, if I can do this, I can probably do that?
Exactly, I did. And I remember that well. I was a finished carpenter, and I was building cabinets for some of my clients. And I had a small cabinet shop in my home, and I was designing the cabinets, each piece, and putting together a complete cabinet. And I just had this realization that all the parts and pieces that went into a cabinet was not any different than a house. It was just the number of pieces and where they went. And that was kind of the awakening is, if I can build a cabinet, I can build a house. And I just moved on to pick up those skills. And of course, I was around construction. That was about 5 or 6 years into being an independent contractor. So I knew, even though I was doing primarily finish, I knew about foundations, and I was looking at blueprints constantly. And so I would even take the blueprints home and look at them and study them. So it was one of those things that I just realized that it wasn't that complicated.
And what was the first sort of test of your design skills?
It was my first spec house, which was when I picked up the CAD program I mentioned earlier and worked my way through it from beginning to end. It took a bit of time. It probably took me about 3 months to finish the plans from beginning to end. But I wasn't frustrated about it because I knew that I would be able to leverage that time in the future.